The village began to change. People whispered more loudly than usual. The air felt tense, like everyone was waiting for bad news to fall from the sky. 2 men were missing, Karo and Daru, and though nobody knew how or where, their names were on every tongue. At the market, women gathered in tight circles, speaking in sharp, worried voices. 2 grown men don't just disappear, someone muttered. Something is wrong here. Another woman crossed herself. Maybe it is the work of spirits. A third whispered, or maybe someone is hunting them. Liri walked past with her basket close to her chest. Eyes followed her. She felt each stare like a blade pressed against her back. She forced her steps to stay steady, but inside, her heart pounded wildly. Every voice sounded like an accusation. Every shadow felt like it was watching her. At home, her mother was folding clothes when Liri returned. "People are afraid," she said quietly. Liri set down the basket and washed her hands slowly, trying to control the shaking. "They should be careful," Liri murmured. Her mother looked at her closely. "Fear spreads quickly," she said. "Fear can drown a whole village." Liri turned her face away. "Let them talk. They will forget soon." Her mother stepped closer, touching her shoulder gently. "A troubled heart always thinks storms will pass. But storms sometimes grow." Liri closed her eyes, fighting tears. "Mama, do you believe that evil walks in this village?" Her mother sighed. "Evil walks everywhere. Sometimes it wears a smile. Sometimes it hides behind pain." The words cut deeply. Liri almost confessed everything, but instead she whispered, "I'm tired, Mama. I need to rest." And she slipped away before her mother could see the truth breaking through her eyes. The next night, Mother Sana's voice came again, stronger this time, colder. "The river waits," it whispered inside Liri's bones. "Bring the third." Liri sat up in her bed, shaking. "No more," she whispered. "I cannot do it again." But the air turned heavy, pressing against her chest, squeezing until she could barely breathe. "Disobedience has a price," the voice hissed. "Your mother's life is borrowed. Return what was given or watch her heart stop again." Liri gasped. "She just recovered," she cried. "Please." But there was no mercy in the dark. The unseen voice grew sharper. "Choose who dies." And then everything fell silent. Liri covered her face with trembling hands. She wanted to scream. She wanted to disappear. But she knew the truth already. The river would not let her go. Her freedom had been traded the night she stepped into the tall grass. Liri spent the whole day walking aimlessly, trying to fight the voice. She prayed in churches with cracked walls and dusty seats. She lit candles until her fingers were stained with wax. She kneeled in the dirt behind the house and begged the sky to show her another path. But every prayer fell flat, swallowed by silence. In the afternoon, she sat by the riverbank, staring at the moving water. "Why me?" she whispered to the wind. "What did I do to deserve this?" The river answered with only the sound of rushing water. Then footsteps broke her thoughts. A man approached slowly, wearing simple clothes and carrying a bag of books. His steps were gentle, and his eyes were kind, not burning with hunger like the others. "Excuse me," he said softly. "Are you all right?" Liri stiffened. She wiped her face quickly and nodded. "Yes, I'm fine." But she was not fine, and he could see it. "My name is Tem," he said, placing the bag down beside him. "I'm new here. I've come to teach at the community school." Liri forced a polite smile. "Welcome." Tem studied her gently. "I'm sorry if I'm intruding, but you look like someone carrying something heavy." Liri laughed weakly. "Everyone carries something." "Yes," Tem nodded, "but some loads crush the soul more than others." His voice was soft, and his eyes did not wander to her body. He looked at her face, something few ever did. For the first time in many days, Liri felt a calmness inside her. A tiny softness like a small candle in a dark room. "Maybe you're right," she said quietly. Tem smiled a small, warm smile. "If you ever want to talk, I listen well," he said. "Not everyone wants something from you." Liri's breath caught. The words felt unreal. She stood quickly, afraid of needing him. "Goodbye," she said and hurried away. That night, Liri could not escape Tem's voice in her mind. Not everyone wants something from you. She sat by the window, watching the moon rise. She felt the river calling again, pushing, pulling, demanding. But for the first time, she wondered if she could fight. If she could choose something different. If someone like Tem could help her find a way out. She pressed her hand over her heart. I don't want to kill again, she whispered. I want to stop. The wind scratched at the window like long nails. There is no stopping, the river hissed. Bring the third, or lose everything. Liri trembled violently. Her mother coughed in her sleep, and fear wrapped around her throat again. If her mother died now, it would be Liri's fault. If she killed again, she would drown in darkness. Tears spilled down her face. What do I do? She whispered. But no answer came. 2 days later, the village gathered for a meeting outside the town hall. The chief stood at the center, his voice heavy with concern. 2 men missing. No trace. No witness. We must be watchful. Women clutched their shawls tightly. Men muttered under their breath. Could it be kidnappers? Someone asked. Or killers? Another added. Has anyone seen anything strange? The chief asked, scanning the crowd. Liri stood at the edge, silent, staring at the ground. She felt eyes on her again. 2 women behind her whispered, Look how she dresses. A trap for men. Another hissed, She always walks at night. Maybe she knows something, someone murmured louder, loud enough for others to hear. Liri felt heat crawl up her neck. She wanted to defend herself, to scream, but her voice locked inside her throat. The chief raised a hand. We will find the truth. Until then, stay home at night. The crowd slowly dissolved, but the whispers continued like poisonous smoke. Why? After the meeting, Liri walked toward home with her head down. Tem appeared beside her, carrying his books. You look troubled, he said. Are you afraid? Liri swallowed. Everyone is afraid. Tem nodded. Fear shows us what matters most. Liri stopped walking and looked at him. His calmness felt unreal in a world full of panic and suspicion. Why are you so quiet? He asked gently. You look like someone who wants to shout, but is afraid of the sound. Liri's lips trembled. Sometimes shouting does nothing, she whispered. Sometimes it only brings more pain. Tem studied her face. Pain shared is lighter than pain hidden. For a moment, Liri felt her walls cracking. She wanted to tell him everything, the shrine, the deaths, the river, the chains around her soul. But suddenly she heard Mother Sanaa's voice echoing in her ears. Trust no one. Speak to no one. Secrets keep you alive. Liri stepped back. I need to go, she whispered, turning away. That night, the pressure returned, worse than ever. A sharp ringing filled her mind like screaming metal. She fell to her knees, gripping her head. Stop, she cried. Please. But the river did not stop. Bring the third, the voice growled. Tonight. Or pay with blood. Suddenly Liri felt a burning pain in her chest, like invisible claws squeezing her heart. She gasped and collapsed to the floor. Her mother woke and rushed to her. Liri, what is happening? She cried, shaking her shoulders. Liri could not speak. Tears streamed down her face as pain ripped through her ribs. Choose. The voice thundered. Choose now. Just as Liri felt consciousness fading, the pain vanished. She lay trembling, staring up at the ceiling. Her mother wept, holding her tightly. My child, what is happening to you? She begged. Liri whispered a broken lie. I am just tired, Mama. I need air. She stood slowly. Her legs were weak, but her fate was already set. Liri walked out into the night, her steps uneven, her breath shaking. She did not dress to attract anyone. She only put on a long black coat and tied her hair back. She was not hunting with charm tonight. She was walking to death, someone's and maybe her own. The moon hung low, casting silver light over the empty streets. Find the third, the voice commanded. But Liri did not want to choose a stranger again. She thought of Tem, the kindness in his eyes. Not him, she told herself firmly. I will not touch him. She walked without knowing where she was going. The silence was thick. The night felt like a closed fist. Then she heard footsteps behind her. Soft, steady, familiar. She turned slowly, heart frozen. Tem stood there, concern etched across his face. Liri, he said gently, where are you going at this hour? You are shaking. Liri stared at him, horror washing through her. Not him. Please, not him. Tem stepped closer carefully, like he was approaching a wounded animal. Liri, talk to me, he said gently. Something is wrong, terribly wrong. Liri backed away, raising her hands as if protecting him from herself. Go home, Tem, she whispered urgently. Please. Don't follow me. Tem frowned. I can't leave you like this. You're shaking, you're crying, and you look like you're fighting something I can't see. Liri's voice cracked. You don't understand. If you stay, you will die. Tem stared at her, stunned. Die? Why would I die? Liri turned away, tears falling. Because the night has teeth, Tem. And it's hungry. Tem reached for her shoulder. Liri, whatever danger you think is coming, we can face it together. She jerked away violently. No. You will not die because of me. The wind howled suddenly, sharp and loud, like the night itself was growling. The voice returned, dark, heavy, echoing inside her skull. The third is here. Liri's spine shivered. No, she whispered aloud. Not him. Anyone but him. Tem looked around, confused. Liri, who are you talking to? She dropped to her knees, clutching her head. Leave. Please, Tem. But he refused. I won't, he insisted, kneeling beside her. I won't abandon you. The air thickened. A cold wind blasted through the street, though no storm clouds were in sight. Liri felt invisible hands clawing at her chest again. Bring him. Bind him. The river waits. Liri sobbed. I won't do it. Tem grabbed her shoulders. Liri, look at me. She lifted her face, eyes full of agony. You don't understand. There is something inside me, something I cannot escape. Tem wiped her tears. Then let me help you escape it. His kindness cut deeper than any blade she had ever felt. The wind roared again, harder this time, sending dust spiraling around them. The world felt like it was spinning. Liri's breath caught. She felt her body rising without her will, dragged forward like she was a puppet on strings. Tem, run, she screamed. But his feet refused to move as if the same unseen force held him still. What is happening? He yelled, gripping her arm. Liri's eyes widened in terror. The world dimmed, the moonlight shrinking until everything blurred into black. When the darkness faded, they were standing inside the clearing of tall grass, outside the shrine. Mother Sanaa stood beside the fire, watching them with cold, ancient eyes. Tem stared around wildly. What is this place? He whispered. Liri's heart shattered. I didn't bring you here. I swear I didn't choose you. Mother Sanaa stepped forward. The river chooses, child. It always chooses who bleeds next. Tem looked at Liri, betrayed confusion all over his face. Mother Sanaa raised her hand. Bring him to the circle. Liri stepped back instantly. No, Mother Sanaa's voice sharpened. You dare defy the river now? After you have drunk from its power? After it revived your mother from death? Tem's eyes widened. Your mother? Power. He stared at Liri, trying to piece together the horror. Liri, what did you do? Liri's voice broke. I wanted to save her. I didn't mean to become this. Tem touched her face gently, despite everything. You were desperate. People do terrible things when fear owns them. Mother Sanaa scoffed. Enough softness. Step forward, Tem. A gust of wind forced him forward, pushing him toward the center of the drawn symbols. He stumbled, trying to fight. Liri, he shouted. Don't let them kill me. Liri's body trembled violently. She turned toward Mother Sanaa. There must be another way. There is none, the old woman replied coldly. The river does not bargain. Tem stood inside the circle now, breathing hard, eyes wild. Liri, listen to me, he said urgently. If you let this happen, you will never return to yourself. You will drown in this darkness forever. Liri shook her head desperately. I can't stop it. I tried. Mother Sanaa lifted her arms, beginning the chant, deep and ancient. The fire leapt higher, lighting the symbols with burning red light. Tem shouted over the wind. Liri, you are not a monster. You are stronger than whatever this is. Liri pressed her hands over her ears, trying to block the chant. I'm not strong, she cried. Tem's voice broke. You are. You came here tonight to fight it, didn't you? That is strength. The chant grew louder. The wind slammed against them like waves. Liri fell to her knees, screaming. A flash of memory struck her. The moment her mother opened her eyes again, alive, breathing, smiling. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind. Whatever storm you carry, do not let it drown you. Liri lifted her head slowly. The wind pushed her, but she fought it. Stop, she whispered. Mother Sana ignored her. Stop, Liri said louder. Tem watched her with hope. Fight it, Liri, he shouted. The chant pounded against her skull, tearing at her will. But she pushed herself up, inch by inch, shaking violently. I said stop, she screamed with every piece of strength left inside her. Suddenly the fire burst upward like a pillar of light, and the wind exploded outward in a thunderous blast. The chant broke off midword. Mother Sana stumbled backward, shock twisting her face. The circle of symbols shattered like glass under Liri's scream. The ground cracked. The fire roared. A terrible voice bellowed from beneath the earth, deeper and older than stone. You dare defy the river? Liri stood trembling, sweat pouring down her face. Yes, she whispered. I dare. Tem stared at her in awe and terror. You are bound to us. The voice thundered. No, Liri answered, voice shaking but steady. I am bound to no one anymore. The earth shook violently, and a dark shape surged from the firelight. Something enormous and formless, built of shadows and cold. Tem grabbed Liri's arm. Run, he shouted. They stumbled backward as the creature roared, shaking the trees. Mother Sana screamed and reached out, but the shadow swallowed her instantly, pulling her into darkness. She vanished with a strangled cry. The shrine cracked apart and collapsed. The fire died in an instant. Silence fell, an awful, heavy silence. Liri collapsed, gasping for air. Tem knelt beside her, lifting her into his arms. Are you hurt? He asked breathlessly. Liri shook her head, tears streaming freely. I thought I lost you, she whispered. Tem held her tightly. Not while I can still breathe. The tall grass around them lay flattened, the clearing ruined, the symbols erased. It felt like the night had exhaled its last breath. Liri looked at her trembling hands. I broke the circle, she whispered. The river has lost control. Tem brushed back her hair gently. You did more than that. You broke chains that were killing you. Liri closed her eyes, feeling the weight lift from her chest for the first time in months. Tem whispered, You are free, Liri. But Liri's voice trembled. Freedom always asks for a price. They walked back through the ruined path. The grass was blackened, as if fire had licked every blade. The night felt lighter now, though still wounded. Tem wrapped his jacket around her shoulders. When did this begin? He asked quietly. Liri told him everything. Her mother's sickness, the shrine Karo Daru, the night river. Tem listened without interrupting, without flinching. When she finished, she looked up at him nervously. Do you hate me? She whispered. Tem shook his head firmly. No. I see someone who was trapped. Someone who fought when it mattered. Liri lowered her gaze. But 2 men are dead because of me. Tem exhaled slowly. And 1 man is alive because of you. The words softened something inside her chest, something she thought was dead forever. When they reached the edge of the village, the first light of dawn touched the sky. Birds began to sing, unaware of what the night had held. Liri stopped walking. Tem, what if the river isn't gone? What if it comes back? Tem turned to face her. Then we face it together. Liri swallowed. You don't know how dangerous this is. Tem nodded. I know enough to see that you don't need to fight alone anymore. Liri stared at him, stunned. In all her life, no one had ever stood beside her without asking for something in return. She felt her heart tremble, not from fear, but from something new. Something like hope. Thank you, she whispered. Tem smiled softly. It's not over yet, Liri. But you're not drowning anymore. They reached Liri's house. Her mother stood at the doorway, watching them with wide, worried eyes. When she saw Liri, she rushed forward and pulled her daughter tightly into her arms. "Where did you go?" she whispered. "I was afraid you would never return." Liri held her mother close, breathing in the warmth and safety she had nearly lost. "I'm here now, Mama," she said, softly, "and I'm not leaving again." Her mother looked at Tem curiously. "Thank you for bringing my daughter home." Tem bowed his head respectfully. "She saved both of us tonight." Her mother frowned. "Saved?" Liri shook her head. "I will explain everything soon. But not now, not yet. Not until her heart stopped shaking." Inside the house, Tem sat quietly while Liri prepared tea with trembling hands. Her mother watched them, sensing something heavy beneath the silence. "You look different," her mother said softly to Liri. "Your eyes look lighter." Liri paused. "The darkness is breaking," she whispered. Her mother held her hand. "I don't know what battle you fought tonight, but I know you won." Liri almost cried again. Tem spoke gently. "She was stronger than death tonight." Liri shook her head. "I was only desperate." Tem smiled slightly. "Sometimes desperation is the birthplace of courage." Liri looked at him through tired eyes full of gratitude and disbelief. News broke across the village that the shrine in the bush had been destroyed. People gathered in panic. "Something terrible happened out there," they whispered. "The spirits are angry." The chief ordered the area closed off. He warned everyone to avoid the fields after dark. Rumors grew like weeds. "Maybe the missing men were taken by spirits who lived there," some said. Others whispered, "A curse has been broken." Meanwhile, no one suspected Liri. She walked through the village with Tem by her side, head high for the first time in months. But inside her heart, two names whispered constantly, Caro, Daru, and she carried them with silent mourning. That evening, Liri stood at the doorway watching the sunset paint the sky orange and gold. Tem joined her, leaning quietly on the wooden frame. "How do you feel now?" he asked. Liri exhaled slowly. "Like I've just come out from underwater. Like I'm breathing real air for the first time." Tem nodded. "Good. Hold on to that feeling." Liri looked at him carefully. "Tem, why did you stay? Why risk your life for someone you barely know?" Tem smiled gently. "Because sometimes you meet a person who feels like a reason, and you don't walk away from a reason." Liri felt her heart still. She looked away to hide the emotion burning in her eyes. That night, for the first time in a long time, Liri slept without hearing screams in her dreams. She woke to sunlight, soft and warm, spreading across her bed. She lay still, listening to the quiet. No whispers, no chanting, no voice demanding sacrifice. The silence felt like peace instead of punishment. She breathed deeply, letting tears fall, not tears of pain, but tears of relief. "I'm free," she whispered into the empty room. "I'm finally free." Throughout the week, Tem returned often, bringing books, helping her mother with small tasks, sitting with Liri under the mango tree to talk about anything except darkness. Liri learned that Tem loved teaching because he wanted to give children a future better than his own. She learned he had lost his parents young and had built his strength stone by stone without bitterness. He learned that Liri loved to sew, that she once dreamed of opening a clothing shop, that her laughter, when it returned, was soft and beautiful. Days began to feel normal, and for the first time, Liri felt like she deserved normal. One evening while they walked through the quiet road, Tem looked at her carefully. "Liri, do you think you can forgive yourself?" Liri hesitated. "I don't know. I don't know if I deserve forgiveness." Tem took her hand gently. "Forgiveness is not a gift, it's a road. You walk it slowly." Liri blinked away tears. "Will you walk with me?" Tem smiled. "Anywhere you need to go." And they walked together, hand in hand, as the sun disappeared below the hills. Later that night, Liri stood alone outside, looking up at the stars. She whispered into the darkness, "Caro, Daru, I will carry your names. I will not forget you." A warm breeze brushed her skin, almost like a gentle touch. She closed her eyes. "I will live a life that honors those I lost," she whispered. "I will never again trade life for power." The stars flickered brighter, and she felt something release inside her. like a chain falling away. When she returned inside, her mother was waiting. "You look peaceful," her mother said softly. Liri smiled, truly smiled. "Because the storm is no longer roaring inside me." Her mother held her close. "I don't know what you went through, child, but I see strength in you I never saw before." Liri rested her head on her mother's shoulder. "I survived the river," she murmured. Her mother kissed her hair. "And now you can finally live." Liri stepped outside again, just as Tem arrived at the gate, smiling with gentle eyes. She walked toward him, her heart steady for the first time in a long time. The night air was calm, and the moon shone full and quiet overhead. She looked at Tem and whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me." He took her hand. "The darkness tried to swallow you, but you chose light. That is who you are now." Liri looked up at the sky, breathing deeply. For the first time, she felt hope, not borrowed, not stolen, but real. The river was silent. The night was hers again. And her story was only just beginning. Please like, subscribe, and share.